welcome to another instructional video that'll help you to be comfortable with your own drawing ability. And most importantly, this particular unit, I want you to feel comfortable with making mistakes and faking your mistakes, or as we learned earlier in the year about how we embrace the shake. We take roadblocks, we take mistakes, and we still make beautiful artwork out of them. So that's a big push this particular time. I want you to learn about making mistakes and dealing with those mistakes. So I'm eventually going to set you up to on purpose make some errors that you have to work your way through. The second thing that we're going to learn this time is a little bit about something called facial planes. You might have noticed my friend here, I call him Facial Plane Phil. Facial Plane Phil here is actually built to look, yes, somewhat like a robot, but there's a purpose for that. He's actually modeled after the different planes in space. So as a reminder, plane means they're imaginary lines or sheets of glass in space that represent angles. So if you look at his head and his face, they're actually representing harsh angles or changes of direction on his face. As an artist, one of the things that you'll learn, especially doing portraiture, is learning about the facial planes, learning about the very strong angles that are all over the human face that when shaded correctly will make the face feel very three-dimensional, or we like to say have lots of form. We don't want the face to look flat. Everything from the eyes sitting in deep in a cavern to the fact that the lips stick out slightly or protrude from the face, and that the nose, the chin, and the forehead have very strong planes or angles that represent the direction they go in space. So as I turn Phil, you can kind of see all those different angles. Now, interestingly enough, you might also notice that his eyes look different. He's actually built so that he looks like he's kind of winking so that you can see what the facial planes look like when an eye is closed and when an eye looks open. And you'll notice they're significantly different. So let's talk about the third and final thing that's going to be the big push this time, which is built to help you intentionally make some errors, and that is called continuous contour line. So you probably have done this somewhere along the line, probably maybe in middle school or early in high school, where you've actually used only one sheet of paper, and in this case I'm going to give you a very thin point Sharpie or a black pen, and I'm going to ask you to draw a continuous contour drawing of the people around the room. So I'm going to set you up so that you're drawing those people from a distance, and you're going to draw continuous contours with one single line, meaning you cannot pick up your pen or Sharpie at any time through the experience, and you must figure out a way to get to the interior parts of the face, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and all of the other details that you might see by taking that same continuous line that you used to draw the outside to get to the inside. If you notice behind me here, there's an example of a continuous contour line drawing where I've actually drawn multiple people. It's actually three people. It's three very famous people from the 80s, Ronald Reagan, Mikhail Gorbachev, and Margaret Thatcher, who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain at the time. So I did this piece doing a continuous contour line, and I intentionally wanted to make mistakes so that it looked like caricatures or very loose, casual drawings of people. What makes them look anywhat realistic when I'm done is that I've painted them to create and show facial planes, those different directions of the face. So let's talk a little bit about or demonstrate how I want a continuous contour line, and then you're going to be set forth in doing the same job.
The entire time I'm drawing, I'm trying to look at the exterior lines, the heavily suggested edges or lines that we've already learned about that play an important role in identifying the shapes of an object. At any point that I'm drawing, you will notice that I never pick up my pen or my Sharpie to make sure that it is always one continuous contour line. As I begin, I try to find areas that are easy to start with. I generally start with the exterior of the face, and I work my way around. I try to find areas that I could use as gateways or entrances to get into the interior face. That's usually either a wrinkle or a suggestion of a value or any kind of facial mark that might help me make an indent into the face. Of course, it's never going to look like an exact copy. It is meant to be a caricature or a cartooned version of the person, yet still having some of the major characteristics of that face. Be careful that you draw slowly, make sure that you don't pick up your pen, and make sure that you are always trying to identify the major shapes and shape changes as you go through your drawing.
Here I begin a second drawing.
you will actually draw many, many, many versions of your fellow classmates to show that you continue to understand the concept. Eventually, your drawings and your paper will become very crowded. Images will overlap. Certain faces you won't be happy with. Others will get somewhat blocked out by overlapping drawings. This creates a complicated decision that you must make. Some will go well, some will not go well, and you will have to problem solve to establish which ones you're going to emphasize or create emphasis on by using color, texture, lighting, and of course, scale. All of those elements and principles of design that we have talked about since you've been in a foundation level class.
Once you've completed all of your continuous contour drawings, and by the way, you're going to have an entire paper filled, I just did 2 as a sample, you're going to then be working on a worksheet. This worksheet is going to get you to understand completely the idea of facial planes, these angles in space, and how each angle represents a different value in light. So you'll notice on the worksheet, you'll see actually facial plane fill outlined, and actually in this case, it's as simple as color by number. You're going to take at least 2 different values. That's how simple we're going to make it, a 1 and a 2. And you'll notice that there are little numbers in all the locations around facial plane fill. Wherever there is not a number, so in several cases you won't see anything, that's going to be left as a 0, meaning that it will be left blank or white or nearly white. You'll have to determine how light you want that to be. So if you look on facial plane fill's nose, on the bridge of his nose, it's very, very light. The gray is probably so light it could be mistaken for white. In very big contrast, you can see around his jawline that it is exceptionally dark. And again, it gets lighter across his chin. So you can actually see 2 or 3 different values depending on the angle of his face. You want to represent that in this handout as well. Once you've completed the front side of this worksheet, the back side is the same concept, but you step it up a little bit. You're going to be using gouache. I'm going to give you a brand new tool called gouache, which is nothing more than opaque watercolor. So watercolor that you cannot see through. It's actually what professional illustrators and great game designers who would be working on storyboards and movie designers who would work on storyboards would be using if they're not using digital technology. So you're going to get gouache of a few separate colors, and your job is to paint a variation of this face using the gouache. Now, you'll notice that there are directions running along the side. You'll want to read those carefully, but I'm going to hit the highlights. You're going to paint the shadow areas with a cool color first. So any area that you perceive as a shadow. So if you look at facial plane fill, my guess is one of them would be the jaw, the underneath side of the jaw here, at least one side of the nose. You can of course refer to the front side that you already did in pencil to help you and guide you. You'll notice that this facial plane fill is slightly different in the way that his planes are broken up, but it's very close. And you could of course adapt what you learned on the front for the back. You're going to take a cool color, something in the blues, the violets, or the greens, or a combination of, and you're going to lay a very light layer any place that there's going to be a shadow. So that first layer, it's going to look like a blue robot, and you're of course not going to have any colors anyplace else other than where you see shadows to be. And then you're going to layer in the facial or skin tone color of your choice. What will happen is that some of the cool tone that you put from underneath will still come through. It will bleed through the flesh tone color or the color that you choose to use for your facial plane fill. When you are done and you have followed the guidelines and you followed all of the planes that are to be correctly applied, you should have what looks like a very realistically painted 3-dimensional formed face with the skin tone color of your choice. It will have a slight tinge of a cool tone, but it will only have those cool tones where there are shadows. You'll get to practice that, and you'll make sure that you refine that and have that done in a timely manner. You're gonna have about 3 days to tackle the entire thing, and I will come around and grade this instead of uploading it to Schoology like we've done in the past. That way I can consult with you if there are any problems. Gang, I know that this is going to be a challenge and a great challenge, and then we're going to take that information that we learned here and we're going to apply it to our finished work, and it'll make more sense then. But I'm looking forward to seeing your results. Good luck, everybody.